Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Parents' Night Out is what they're calling it. I say it's absolutely psychotic. It's insane. The education department's in the news. Don't worry about all that. They were going to get rid of that, I thought, but nothing's happening. You got Syria developing nuclear components. You got the Second Amendment right to be restored. What is that Second Amendment right? To keep and bear arms? What does that mean? We'll drill into it all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sam Bushman. Happy to have you along. It is a freedom-loving, fantastic, faith-filled, we're taking America back, one heart, one mind, one issue at a time Friday. That means the good doctor's in the house. Dr. Scott Bradley with me, freedomsrisingsun.com. And he had his webinar last night, too. We'll talk about that. Welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Sam, and good morning to all. I hope everyone is geared up for a very pleasant and, shall we say, refreshing and renewing weekend to be able to get enthusiastically into the next week.
Amen to that, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I don't even know how to approach this kind of a topic, but you've got socialists all over the country that are winning elections, ladies and gentlemen, and it is just off the rails crazy. Now, they want to debate between what a socialist candidate is versus a communist candidate, and etc. Really, all roads of isms, if you will, lead to communism, ladies and gentlemen. They really lead to eventual government, absolute dictatorial control. That's my humble opinion, to which I'm entitled, but I'm telling you right now, none of them are any good. And listen to this. It is just insane. New York's first Parents' Night Out. The city is going to fund a break for parents. Yeah, Mayor Nanny is working on this thing. And I guess it's the mayor, along with the New York Parks Commissioner, Tricia Shaminera. I don't know how to say her name. Anyway, they launched New York City's first, quote, Parents' Night Out. And that's held at the New York City's Park Recreation Center. They say the program gave parents a much-needed 4-hour break to enjoy alone time, date nights, or simply to relax, whatever you want to do there. And this initiative, they say, highlights Mondani's commitment to making New York City a more family-friendly city based on free childcare. They're going to steal money from the wealthy and do childcare for everybody else. And they say with peak investments working on childcare support for thousands of families, this move aims to ease parental stress, and they say enhance community well-being. Well, number one, whenever you promote these socialist principles and put government where it ought not be, it's going to be disaster on steroids. And so, Dr. Bradley, let's just dig into this and start out and say, who in the double toothpicks would ever let the government watch your children? I mean, it is insanity.
Well, I think you're going to get the Epstein class applying for jobs for that. It just droves. I mean, yeah, that's where Jeffrey Epstein had one of his headquarter locations. It's astounding to me. This is in comparison to the Good Shepherd, that watch it over the flock and would give their life for the flock. We have hirelings. Now, just do a little math with me for a second, Sam. Let's say this 4-hour period, you're paid $20 an hour to be a hireling, okay? So that costs the government, the taxpayer, $80. Let's say there's 200,000 couples that take care of it. Look at the size of New York. I could easily run to that if that was really going to be carried out. Do the math for one night out for this kind of thing.
4 hours.
Okay, 4 hours, okay, times $20 an hour is $80 times 200,000. It's just astounding the drain that will be out of government coffers. And again, this is something.
Yeah, but do you think they have one of Elon Musk's, when he did Doge, he highlighted that they had money machines and they could just bring her up there, buddy?
Well, we act like that with the Federal Reserve and with the profligate spending of Congress. But here's a city that's trying to race its way to bankruptcy in so many ways, not just one way. But the bigger concern I have about this is the children's safety. I mean, if you have the nanny state taking care of children, pretty soon parents have abrogated all of their responsibility. This is a free choice thing. You choose to have children, you choose to care for them, you love them and cherish them. This is not the taxpayer responsibility for whatever recreation you think you're going to need every 4 hours, for 4 hours every Monday night or whatever night they're going to choose to do it. But the fact of the matter is, this is just another boondoggle that has no place with government involvement. But honestly, if you look at what they did in the Soviet Union with the childcare centers, there was, of course, everybody needed to work both jobs because the people were, basically an economic tool of the state. And so, the children had to be turned over to a caregiver in order to be able to fulfill that responsibility to the state.
Yeah, and they're just trying to see how many socialists will kind of volunteer for this. And they celebrate their, tyrannical agenda with a night out. And eventually it's like, hey, we'll watch your kids for 8 hours. And then it's like they move you into the government education system and say, we've already got a plan for this. Basically it's 8 to 3 or whatever in the government schools. We're just going to have you sign this little document that says we can help with your children's, extra things. And pretty soon then they'll, continue adding the lunch and the breakfast. And pretty soon they'll add dinner and just say, listen, your parents after a long day, you could use probably an hour or two of just kind of relaxed time after work. So now we're going to watch your kids from, 8 to 6. And we back into this program, what the road to hell is paved with good intentions, Doctor?
Well, the thing is that you talk about all the little extras, the breakfast, lunch, and dinner kind of thing, but and that's really pretty well where we are across the nation. But you think about the birth control, you think about the transgender surgeries, you think about the supportive systems for doing things for unseating the faith of the fathers and mothers. These kinds of things are well underway in the country right now. But this, we're going to do a babysitting service is just kind of an overt kind of thing. But those other things are happening in the daily school systems right now, where the school system plays the role of the parent, and in fact supplants.
And the parent plays the role of kind of a nanny or a babysitter. So you get your kids a couple hours a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you might be able to give them a kiss goodnight and say, "Oh, I'm such a good mom." But the fact of the matter is that this abrogation of responsibility has resulted in the dissolution of the traditional family unit in huge volumes all across the nation. And this is just another step in that direction. And Mondami probably, I don't know if he knows how to use a calculator, but you could put a pencil to it if you wanted. But the fact of the matter is, we are way on our way to replicating the disaster that the Soviet Union turned into, and we're voting our way.
The disaster of Rome, too, if you want to know the truth.
You bet. All these societies that have failed, they had many failure points. There was circus and breads, and there was entertainment, and there was this profligate, untethered sexual liberation, and the family dissolved, and the spending by government, the debauchery of their currency. You can just watch the unfolding of this in America today. It's just astounding.
But there is some good news, and that's that homeschoolers are taking off more than ever. A lot of people are starting to say, man, I just can't put my kids in there. I've got to homeschool them. It's my only choice. And, there's a lot more people when you homeschool, Dr. Bradley, especially as one of the homeschool pioneers back in the day, and then my family doing it years and years ago as well. It's on the rise, and there's more of it than there used to be by far, and that is the good news.
It is. That is good news, and I had great hope for the homeschooling movement. It's a past tense, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. But I used to speak around the country, as a homeschooling father, and kind of our formula and our experience and all this kind of stuff. It was thrilling. It was a magnificent experience. But here's what I find very disconcerting right now. The state has said, oh, you know what? We're going to ride this wave of the homeschooling thing. We'll be willing to provide computers to your kids in the school. We'll provide the software, we'll provide the curriculum, and your kids can go online and
we'll give you a
guys
little
can
stipend to where you can put your kids in all kinds of fun stuff.
And the problem is that all it is it just rehashed, reinvented curriculum put online, and your kids can sit there on the computer and get as mush for brains education.
Well, you just have government school guys, under the guise of homeschooling, right?
That's right, and so they've got their hooks into your kids again. And so it's a really destructive kind of program, and the parents have got to watch against that, because it's a freebie, man. We can do this for you.
I'm just telling you right now, the government's not watching my kids, and they're not going to educate my kids either. I'm telling you that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on. Dr. Scott Bradley's with me. He had his webinar last night. We're chatting about it in seconds.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began. Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
All right. Last night we had our weekly webinar that we answer questions that are hot on the minds of the American public. And it's interesting to me. There's a lot of ointed offals that are out there. There's some interesting things that a lot of people initially revolt on, and then they say, oh my goodness, this might not be a bad idea. But at any rate, so let's just see kind of what these are. And Sam, you'll have to kind of rein me in, because I get enthusiastic about some of the passionate feelings that people have. But let's just start off with one. Everybody's hearing about this long deployment of the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln. It's being replaced by the George Washington. United States only has 11 carriers, and the Gerald Ford got pulled out and put on sticks to kind of dry it out and figure out what's going on, because they had this fire and they got to repair it and all that. It's going to be out of business for a year or more, probably. And here's the deal. We've got long deployments, and people say, oh, get over it. You're not on a cruise ship. You're out there. You're doing, this war stuff, and you volunteered for this and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to just make a statement up front, and then we can talk about why this is not working and what happened and how it's only going to get worse, and the costs are more than we can possibly afford. But here's the deal. Yes, we do have a volunteer military. And yes, ship life is not for everybody. I mean, the cramped quarters and all this kind of stuff. But here's the deal with the personnel. The personnel did not volunteer for what's going on right now. These are patriots. These are people that said, I'll go die for my country if I need to. Don't want to, but I'll die for my country. But I think what's really underpinning all of this grumbling and griping and murmuring that's going on aboard ship is the fact that we are doing, and you know what? These people that join the military are not, dim bulbs that can be turned any way you want them. These people are thinking human beings. And they have figured out that we're doing this for Israel. And they're saying, you know what? I didn't sign up for this. I'll die for my country, but I'm not going to die for another country that my leadership has stupidly decided to go to the mat for. And this thing has almost broken the morale. Now, you look at this Abraham Lincoln thing. They've got a whole task force of ships that are around them. They got 3 battleships, for example. And by the way, the George Washington that was steaming in from the Pacific, so we're leaving that area uncovered by our aircraft carrier. It takes weeks oftentimes to get to where you want to go based upon how fast these puppies can go.
Now, let me throw out a couple of tidbits to this discussion that I think is really relevant for people to understand. It's one thing to be on a military ship for, say, 8-9 months. It's long, it's grueling, and I agree with you on the reasons. If we're there for the right reasons, they're willing to take care of business and do what needs to be done. When they find out they're there for the wrong reasons and or their hands are being tied or there's games being played politically by armchair bureaucrats from up above, that's very frustrating. But let me tell you what adds insult to injury. If you can get supply lines to where you can refresh the ship, make sure that everybody's got what they need. If there's a problem, bring somebody in to fix some plumbing or fix this or fix that or take care of whatever. Or if the ship needs to be replaced because of a big problem, that you get something out there and they can move to a new ship, meaning you take care of business to support the troops. And I think you're going to have a different morale view, whether they believe they should be there or not. They'll say, hey, minds above me can decide that. I'm here to do a good job. But when that supply chain fails, when nobody fixes some plumbing and when nobody makes sure that there's food and when people are starting to get sick and people are starting to get, have problems with their health care and they can't, get what they need, medically and physically and everything else, you're adding insult to injury to the point where they're losing patience with it. And I think that's a big problem with what's going on. So your headline talks about this long deployment, and long means 2 things in my mind in this case. One, it means we're on this ship for way too long in terms of time, but we're not getting what we need, adding insult to injury. But we've got a long supply line. I don't know that they can get the right things to the ship, to the people that they need them, because it's hard. Where does it come from? How does it get delivered? How, and we've got a long deployment in 2 ways in terms of how easy it is to get information and services and replacements and, all that kind of stuff, in addition to how long they're there. So, yeah, replacing the ship's going to help, but why didn't they do that 4 months ago? Answer, because it's too expensive, too hard to get one there. And every time we move a ship from one place to another, we make ourselves vulnerable somewhere else. And the list just goes on and on. And every one of these issues is going to continue to ratchet up, Doctor. That's the real difficulty discussion here.
Let's just talk about the resupply issue. The regional resupply location in the region where they have been deployed for so long was flattened by Iran in the initial days of this, self-anointed destruction that we're doing. It got flattened by Iran. Now, you think about this. Iran knows the problems you've just been talking about. Yeah, let's take care of this problem. The closest resupply depot right now is out in the Indian Ocean. It's the archipelago on the Diego Garcia Island. It's a long ways away. And so our supply lines, as you say, are very long, and we just haven't been able to meet that. And so now we're bringing in an aircraft carrier from out of the Pacific that's going to leave an open spot there. One of the 3 battleships that was accompanying that lost power, had to be towed back to the Philippines. So one of the battleships that's currently associated with the Abraham Lincoln is going to probably have to stay there until their replacement can arrive. And the fact of the matter is, those people on those battleships, it's not just a long deployment for an aircraft carrier. It's a long deployment for everybody that's in the task force. And consequently, one of the battleships is going to say, grumble, grumble, we've got another 2 months before we can leave because they're taking care of this battleship that lost power on the way to help with the replacement. All of these things are showing our rubber band is stretched pretty tight. All of our opponents are observing these frailties. We have had a couple of battleships in very recent times that have lost power, just like this one that was accompanying the George Washington.
And then you got a question. Why are they losing power like this? Why are we having so many problems with them? And then you got to wonder, is there something being done to cause that to happen? Or is our fleet just old causing that to happen? Or some of both? And all these lessons of war are being taken back to the powers that be in foreign, angry, hate-filled nations. This won't go well.
No, so we're wearing out our equipment. We're wearing out our munitions. And we've talked about these before. I mean, we are really probably 60% down on many of our critically important munitions. And this is in a little dinky regional war of somebody we were supposed to win in a few days, maybe a few weeks at most. And we're wearing down our people. And our people are saying, you know what? I didn't sign up for this. You know what? I have access to some senior NCOs that are saying, my people are tired, and in addition to that, we're being abused. Now, everybody ought to go read again, if you haven't done it already, read Sun Tzu's The Art of War. It sounds like a lot of little inane, simple things about, if you're used to military life and all that. But one of the main things you got to do is you got to feed your people. I mean, that's a really important thing. An army travels on its stomach, all that kind of stuff. But here's the deal. Some of the reports coming out of these long deployed ships, because of these long supply lines that are not being reinforced, because
they can't be. They're too long, Doctor.
Well, here's the deal. The food, sometimes I look at some of the reports I've seen where they say, basically, we're getting rations that are not much better than you'd get as a POW. I mean, on our own ships, we're mistreating them. Half a cup of rice and some tortillas. The shower. Some of them can't even take a warm shower, and it's warm shower's warm shower. You can't get deodorant. If you've seen the living conditions aboard ship, you're in very close quarters. Splash some more Chanel No. 5 on you. And
hey, they're out of Chanel No. 5, my friend. And that brings up the next headline that you have. And the problem with it, these long deployments show critical limitations from a length of supply chain to a how long they're there, to equipment going bad, to possibly other enemies taking power from us in certain ways that we don't want to admit. But now you got to talk about the Strategic Petroleum Reserves. Why are we having such a problem with that? Why have we drained those to such low? Partly it's the Straits of Hormuz. Partly it's what we're doing in the war, though, right?
Here's the deal. An awful lot of people don't have a clue what the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is, Basically, back in, some of you that are over 60 years old might remember what the OPEC oil countries. That
all kind of kicked off in like the mid-'70s, right? 76, 7
early
range.
70s even, actually. But here's the deal. Back in 1975, ancient history for some people, during this OPEC oil crisis, Gerald Ford signed a thing for us to stabilize oil and fuel costs, as response to war and all that kind of stuff. And they put away what they call a strategic oil reserve. These are stored in salt caverns down in, I think they're in Texas and Louisiana. But anyway, these are these salt caverns. And what they do, they've got, if I recall correctly, about 715 million barrels in there. This was put away.
Well, that's what they had when it's all full.
That's the thing. Then they pump salt water in, and that raises, your oil floats on top of the water, and then we extract the oil. But here's the deal. Since this war started, now what's happened is Trump is using it to stabilize, if you can call it that, our oil prices, our fuel prices. And that's, they've risen dramatically, but what they're doing is they're releasing this oil, and it's down to under 300 million. We're about 60% down. When this is gone, it's gone, folks. And we'll talk about how this works out and everything, but this could be really have an immediately spike once these things kind of run out, because he's using it to kind of take up the slack. So anyway,
all right, hold on, Dr. Bradley. This oil thing is serious because people don't understand. You're right, when it's gone, it's gone. But the other thing you got to know is we haven't been taking the opportunity to make sure we can change our refineries to where we can deal with our own internal oil. We haven't taken that opportunity either. So while these draining of the oil supplies are happening, we're also remaining absolutely not interdependent. We'll talk about it. I'm Sam Bushman for Dr. Scott Bradley, freedomsrisingsun.com. God save our constitutional Republic.